Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and today I want to talk about consumer buyer behavior. And this is video number 6 found in our marketing series here. I've got other series of videos on my YouTube channel if you wanted to check those out. But this is, as I mentioned before, this is video 6 of my marketing series. And in this video, I want to talk about consumer behavior. And you need to be able to really understand, if you own a company or if you're in a marketing department, what the processes are for consumers when they buy things. There are functional and physiological needs that are being met when consumers buy a product or make a decision or don't make a decision. Sometimes there are a lot of different factors that go into choosing a particular purchase, and very often we have post-purchase remorse after we buy things, and so we need to be thinking about this as a business owner or a marketer, because we want our customers to be completely happy and satisfied with the products that we purchase. And so that really should be your goal. If you want to have a reputation of excellence, you got to make sure that you're thinking like the consumer. So really, not every product is for everybody. Some products are so outpriced that people not only can't afford them, they don't even want to purchase them. And sometimes when there's a will, there's a way. People will go out of their way to find the necessary money to buy a product or service. I can think of when I was younger, computers were so very, very expensive and I didn't have any money, but somehow I found the money to do it. As a matter of fact, I think I applied for a credit card just for the purpose of buying one of those big old expensive computers. So you have to really take a look at the consumer decision process in order to really be an effective marketer of your product or service. The different steps include need recognition, information search, alternative evaluation, then the purchase, and then the post-purchase. And so essentially, these are the things that you need to understand as you create your marketing strategy. So in the need for recognition, there really are two different basic needs that need to be met. Either a functional need, and maybe it's like a pair of shoes, or for faster running, or a coat to keep you warm. Or physiological needs. Gosh, I got to get this new suit so that I look cool and people take me seriously. So whatever the reason is, as a marketer, you need to understand what kind of recognition need that it fulfills. In the buying process, most consumers are searching for information, and they're either doing an internal search for information or an external search for information. And so you need to be able to, in an internal search for information, it's about personal knowledge, and externally, maybe it's using Google, or maybe it's talking to other people. So factors affecting consumers' search processes are either perceived benefits or perceived costs. And people are weighing things out. If I spend this amount of money, I'll look cooler, which is really awesome. Or I don't think I can justify spending this type of money on this because it's just too much and I won't be able to afford rent. So I think about buying a car. A car gets you from place A to point B. But you don't have to buy that $100,000 luxury car to be able to do that. So, but some of the perceived benefits is, maybe there's heated seats, and maybe you look cool, and maybe the windows go down. So whatever those perceived benefits are, whatever that car payment cost is going to be, is always being evaluated. So locus of control really is a psychological thing that we all must consider. With an internal locus of control, we feel like there are more search activities involved. But there's an external locus of control, fate, and other external factors are considered. There are actual and perceived risks, and these are things that people need to take into consideration. Performance risk. This involves perceived danger inherent in poor performing product or service. Financial risk is associated with a monetary outlay and includes the initial costs of the purchase as well as the cost of using the item and service. Social risk, that involves fears that consumers suffer when they worry that others might not regard their purchases positively. Physiological or safety risk is a fear of an actual harm if the product or service doesn't work properly. Physiological risks are those associated with people and will feel like the product or service does not convey the right risk. So that's a psychological risk. Performance risk, financial risk, social risk, physiological, and psychological risks all must be considered. And there are always alternatives to your product or service. Even if you don't really believe it, there are other things that may be out there that need to be into consideration. And so people are always evaluating, based on specific criteria, and they're determining the attributes of that product or service. It's important to understand, who your competition is, and so you got to weigh these things out. For example, what are some of the features of vacation that would be in your evaluative criteria? Or if you are buying, I don't know, cereal, how would people evaluate the alternatives? Let's take Cheerios, Post, and Kashi, for instance. Taste might be a factor, calories might be a factor, natural organic claims might be a factor, price might be a factor. So each of these areas are metrics that are being weighed out. If Cheerios tastes better than Post, Cheerios gets a 10 and Post would get an 8, and maybe Kashi would get a 6. Calories, maybe Cheerios has the same amount of calories as Kashi, so they all get the same, and Post grape nuts, for instance. The natural and organic, probably Kashi would get 100%, I'm just making this up, and Cheerios would not get a very high score because it's not organic, but it is natural, And then price. Unfortunately, Kashi probably is the more expensive out of these brands, and Post grape nuts probably is the one that is being evaluated. Just kind of a metrics to consider. We are as consumers, we are always purchasing things all the time. Our money is always going out the door, and marketers know that in their advertisements, they get the best bang for their buck when they have an increased conversion rate. So they need to, if they're making online purchases, they need to take a look at cart, whether or not they're being abandoned, or in the grocery store, people pushing their cart up and making the purchase or not making the purchase. Is there merchandise in stock, and what is the actual wait time? So these are some of the things that must always be considered. After the purchases are actually purchased, people should be absolutely satisfied. The ways of doing this are making sure that there's a customer contact information on somewhere that's easy for consumers to see. You should have some way for customers to share feedback. A money-back guarantee is a way to make sure that customers are completely satisfied, and demonstrating the correct use of the product or service is important. And make sure that you have realistic expectations for use of your product or service. So what you don't want is post-purchase cognitive dissonance. This is when customers regret making a purchase. And so in order to help customers feel completely satisfied with it, send out thank you letters or congratulation letters, a reminder of the quality ratings of your product or service. You really want to make sure consumers become completely loyal to you and not looking for alternatives. So finding ways to satisfy customers so that they'll buy their product or service again, or give word of mouth recommendation really is absolutely important. What you don't want is negative word of mouth or negative rumors. And so marketers need to be thinking of how consumers are seeing their product or service and being objective so that they don't have negative reviews or negative rumors don't start. There are factors that influence consumers' decision factors that I want to break down really quick for you. So in the marketing mix, the product, price, place, and promotion, as we've talked about in another video. The psychological factors, the motives, the attitudes, the perception, learning, and lifestyle, which you've talked about. Situational factors, the purchase situation, shopping situation, and temporal state. And then the social factors, family, reference groups, and then culture, all affect consumer buying decisions. With the physiological, I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Does it meet the physiological safety, love, and esteem desires? Attitude is a big factor in the psychological factors, cognitive, affective, and behavioral. What is your perception of things when you purchase them? How are other people going to perceive you, or how do you perceive other people perceiving you when you're using that product or service? Psychological factors like learning and lifestyle, those both affect our attitudes and our perceptions. And so lifestyle involves decisions, spending time, and how we spend time and money. Social factors, related to our family. I know that I purchase a lot of products or services because my kid tells me that he wants something, and I want my kid to be happy, or I want my kid to look cool. And so those things come into play. So in different groups like family, friends, and coworkers, and famous people, these are things that marketers use to influence buying decisions. So you have to make sure that you're providing the information, rewards, and make sure that people can see themselves as having a positive self-image by using these products or service. So many times in our cultures, there are shared beliefs, morals, values, and then satisfied customers or dissatisfied customers. We need to make sure that we're thinking about these things. The situational factors, like a purchase situation or shopping situation. Are people set up to make it easy for them to buy the product or service? And so we need to be making sure that as marketers we are actively involved in consumer buying decisions. What message are we giving out? Do we have high involvement where there's greater attention and deeper processing, and which develops strong attitudes and purchase intentions, or low involvement, which has less attention and peripheral processing, and this generates weak attitudes and values. So we really need to, as marketers, really understand from a consumer's perspective, why would they buy it, and take a look at it from a higher perspective and ask yourself, what are the different things consumers will be thinking and feeling about your product or service, and what can I do to help make it easy for my potential consumers in customers to want to buy this product or service over and over again, because I understand how they think. I understand who's in their life influencing them, and I'm making it easy for them to click the purchase now button with no regrets and tell their friends and families about it. All right, this is about everything I got for you today in this 15-minute video. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr.